Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Recruitment Reality podcast. I am delighted to start the New Year's recording with one of our, I guess, a kind of a connection through our VC, a company called Teamed, and a chap called Shamir, who is joining us for this call. So thanks so much for coming on, Shamir. It would be awesome because, as I always say, I'm sure I would do you and Teamed a disservice if I tried to do the introduction. But it'd be awesome if you could just give a quick overview of yourself, your background, and also the business, and I guess what you're trying to achieve. What's your kind of mission?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, Happy New Year to you, Willow, and all
Yeah.
the listeners.
Happy New Year, everyone.
It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Shamir. I am from a company called Teamed, as Andy just said. Teamed is a UK-based employer of record. And for those of the listeners that haven't heard of the term employer of record fundamentally means we are a platform and service provider that allows companies to compliantly employ talent around the world without having to open a legal entity overseas. So, we have clients across the world actually, but predominantly in the UK who use us and our platform and our services to employ anybody anywhere fundamentally. We don't source talent, that's not what we do, but we do with the HR administrative layer, if you will, between the employer in the UK and the candidate or the employee in, Europe, Asia, Americas, wherever the person happens to be. And really what we do from it in terms of our product and service is fundamentally manage things like payroll, compliance, all the legal matters, benefits, all those types of things on behalf of our clients for their talent around the world. So myself, I've been here, I just celebrated actually on the 29th of December. Today is the 9th of January, 2023. So on the 29th of December, 2022, so about a week and a half ago, I celebrated my 2-year anniversary at Teamed. And back
Congrats.
then thank you very much. We were a team of, I think, 3 or 4 when I started. We're now a team of 15.
Amazing.
So growing slowly but surely. And yeah, so my role fundamentally is mainly kind of business development for the most part. I also look after some of our partnership relationships as well. And yes, I think we were introduced by an organization that we know and love by the name of Canda, who brought us all together,
Yeah.
and also investors.
Investors,
So
indeed.
yeah, so yeah,
Who'd have
so
thought? Bigging up investors on a
indeed,
podcast.
indeed,
And
absolutely.
actually, the two investors that we both know are pretty decent ones. So shout out to Blackfinch in 1818.
Indeed.
If you are looking for a VC investment, I would highly recommend them. But we digress. So yeah, I guess I mean employer of record is a ever growing industry at the moment, and rightly so. I mean, we employ people in a number of different countries. Um, so I can absolutely see just how important the service that you offer is becoming, or has already become. Really,
Mhm.
we're kind of moving out of early adopters.
Yeah.
Um, as a kind of a starting point, it'd be great to get your kind of view or context for 2023. Obviously, there's a lot of talk of economic pressures, candidate experience, all sorts of different things going on in the UK and beyond. So it'd be great to get what you saw last year and what you think that momentum or change is going to see in 2023.
Yeah, so I think in 2022, for us specifically here at Teamed, we saw I don't want to use the word mass adoption, that's definitely not the right word, but companies more willing and open to the
Mm,
idea of remote work and employing talent around the world, of course. Rightly or wrongly, things like COVID and the pandemic and, Brexit have actually worked in our favor because companies are, of course, more willing to look at employee relocation requests and working remotely. And obviously, because of the pandemic and people working from home, I think companies are now more willing and open to, hire talent, whether they're in London or in Lisbon. It's all the same. I think 2020, back end of 2022, 2023, like you say, the economic downturn, or we're hearing things about obviously the economic downturn and a recession. Interestingly enough, what we're seeing now is a lot more talent available because some of these larger tech companies are letting significant numbers of their workforce go, unfortunately. But what that means is there's more talent available for the smaller startups who are looking to scale. And that talent and the skill set that these individuals have, whether it be from engineering or tech background, is invaluable for those people that are looking for that skill set. So I think employer of record, interestingly, we'll have to see what the next kind of 3-6 months hold. But there'll definitely be a more talent available locally, I feel, especially if you're in the US market or the European or the UK market. So there may be a reason that might be a reason why companies may not necessarily need to go down the EOR route because talent is available locally in the US and the UK. But what that does mean is companies from out of those regions, in Asia, in Australia, South America, could be looking to employ talent in those regions if indeed that's what we're looking for. So we'll wait and see. We'll have to see how that pans out. But in terms of new clients coming on board, new employees, that hasn't dropped off just yet. I think it's and I'm hoping it'll obviously remain strong. But let's see how we go. It's an interesting time for everyone, I think, in this space.
Yeah, I think it's such a dynamic question because, like you say, there's more available talent domestically, but that talent is still looking for the same level of remuneration, where
Indeed.
organizations are looking to drive efficiency and productivity. So
Indeed.
there's an argument to then employ people out of country that are, cheaper, basically. So I think there's going to be in your space specifically some really tough decisions that the market is going to make, and I think you'll just see some companies going, right, well, we'll pay more and we'll get domestic people, and whatever the byproduct of that will be, and there'll be others going, right, no, we're gonna drive the bottom line
Overseas.
really, really hard overseas.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think certain industries and certain sectors will probably be forced to do that a little bit more. In terms of, like you say, the economy and the economic landscape. So yeah, there'll be cases where people will, and also, the lack of available talent. There's certain talent, of course, that's available, and that'll flood the market a little bit. But there's still a lack of available talent in some sectors, some industries,
Absolutely.
which the economic downturn probably won't have that much of an impact on, because talent is still required, and in some sectors, growing sectors, even though the economy is looking a little bit shaky, there are some sectors that are still growing aggressively, and those guys that we speak to are constantly looking for growth and constantly looking for talent around the world.
Awesome. And typically, what kind of organizations are you actually being the EOR for?
So we were doing a little bit of work on this actually just before Christmas, looking at the kind of trends of where our customers are based. So we're really, for the most part, our sweet spot is the kind of Series A, seed Series A type company for the most part. So these are the folks that have received some sort of investment, looking to scale quickly. Typically tech companies who are remote first or are transitioning into a kind of remote first model. So that's what kind of our sweet spot. We don't really have many enterprise type clients or anything like that. But the kind of tech Series A, seed Series A is where we play for the most part. Awesome. We also actually have some sectors that when I started this role two years ago, I would never have thought certain kind of the more traditional professional services type companies would be looking to employ talent overseas, but I've been proven wrong recently. So we do have some kind of traditional professional services who are now, again, probably because they're well, not probably, it's definitely because they're struggling to either attract and or retain talent, that they're kind of forced again to look overseas for they're more the kind of I would say the kind of junior roles. Junior to mid-level roles, but they're looking at overseas, especially where skills align, right? Where you've got the professional services qualifications in the UK are very similar to some other countries, like South Africa, as an example. We have professional services companies in the UK that are actively looking at South Africa. Obviously, time zones, English speaking, the qualifications, GDPR kind of regulations are very, very similar. All those types of things kind of help.
I love doing the Mystic Meg prediction thing, but I could see a lot of more traditional businesses the tech industry is really early adopters of everything, right? Because they
Yeah.
kind of have to be, they're building a brand new business. It's easier to change and steer, blah, 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 blah. But tech is the main area that's having disruption right now.
Hmm.
Um, I think the more traditional professional services and so on, what you might see over the next year, or what I would hope for Teamed anyway, is that like they're more junior roles, admin kind of roles, etc. Maybe the model switches from finding one tech superstar in wherever it is to 10, you know, junior execs doing the legwork for the senior people in the UK, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Like I could see that as a really logical trend as people
Trend.
go, actually, it makes more sense for us to kind of go into a different country.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And it's happening. We're seeing it. We're seeing it definitely. But like I said, 2 years ago, I would never have thought of professional services as a kind of strong kind of market for us.
yeah,
But it has proven it's proven me wrong.
yeah, good. It's always nice to be proved wrong in
It,
a good way.
indeed, indeed.
I've definitely been proved wrong in a bad way before, but there you go.
Yeah, me too.
That's part of startup life. And I'm putting you on the spot slightly, but often people listen to when we have like tech businesses on, they listen to kind of figure out, is this a company that I want to work with versus somebody else? Obviously, there's a few other people within your space. What kind of makes Teamed different for you? What's the I don't want to say I hate the word. I actually hate
Ooh,
USP because nobody's that unique. But what are your kind of key
yeah.
key differences?
Yeah, so as an employer of record, when we compare ourselves to some of the competitors, I think the key differences I would say is well, we're actually a lot smaller than some of the larger players, of course, but
Mm,
that the fact that we are smaller allows us to be kind of quicker, do execute quickly. We're far more nimble, generally speaking. But what we're trying to do is not only give our clients an exceptional kind of experience, and we're more of a, I would say, probably more of a service-led company than simply just a plug-and-play platform type company. We're a
hmm
mix of the two. But also it's the employee experience that we're really, really focused on now. We
hmm
need to make sure that we're giving, an exceptional experience to the employees that we're employing around the world on behalf of our clients in the UK. And fundamentally, the key reason for that, I'm talking about building communities and supporting them through they're working remotely. They're somewhat probably isolated working from home. So we want to,
mm,
get them involved in certain things and communities and sharing ideas and concepts around how to work better remotely for an international company, for example. But also, we know that if we are giving or we are delivering an exceptional service to an employee, as and when they do move on to another remote role, they'll take us with them. So if they may work with our client for 3 years in the UK, then they might find another remote role, and they'll often say to their new employer, "Hey, I was employed by Teamed for the past 3 years, working for this UK company. I would also like to continue to be employed by Teamed." And so we'll often get referred into new employers
All right.
when
Wow.
candidates move from one, and that's what we're looking for, because that helps us immensely when we grow. So that kind of employee advocacy
Yeah.
is as important as the employer advocacy.
Yeah. So it's a real network effect, isn't it? You're quite lucky
Absolutely.
in that regard that if you find somebody that's on a short-term contract, a 6-month contract or whatever, and then they get another one and they've had an amazing experience, and
Absolutely.
the new contract comes in and they go, actually, I'd rather use Teams because then I can stay in their community and stuff.
Absolutely. So that's what we're
Huge.
driving for. That's what
Great.
push it. And it's interesting, we have employees. We in fact we have an employee. She is in South Africa, and her husband, they're probably sharing the same home office. Her husband got a new remote role, and so she was speaking to her husband about how we've been doing the payroll benefits on behalf of her UK employer, and she
Awesome.
referred us to her husband, who then introduced us to his new employer, and they signed up to become a client as well. So it's a really nice testament to the kind of service that we're providing.
Absolutely.
Not me, I don't. It's not me, by the way. It's my colleagues. They do all the employee stuff. I don't want to lay claim to any of that. But my colleagues are doing a great job at the employee experience, and making sure that our employees around the world feel loved.
Yeah, nice. Customer service starts with sales, always,
Oh, there
but
you
usually
go.
it's somebody else that does the really hard work
Mm,
in terms of the, well, I'd call it hard work, like actually making sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. But there you go.
absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about the kind of candidate experience, because I can imagine from their perspective, it's a little bit strange. You know, we've looked at EOR and stuff, and we've ended up using an agency, and that agency, so this is in the Philippines specifically. That agency actually has they employ the person and invoice us, right?
Mhm.
And they have like weekends away and stuff like that. So how do you get to that point where candidates are advocating for teamed? What is it that you kind of really instill in the process? And as a candidate, how do I feel about that process? Like, am I quite detached from the organization I'm working for, or not?
No, actually, the complete opposite. Two things. So first of all, the one thing that we do is for every time a client signs up with us and then they introduce us, they have to go through the process of adding their new employee or their new candidate onto our platform. And of course, when we get notified of the employee being added to the platform, we then immediately jump on from my colleagues will jump on the onboarding process. So there's an onboarding process for each and every employee that joins us on when we employ them on behalf of our clients. So, and that onboarding process is, a high touch, and 99.99% of employees and candidates like the high touch approach. But it's an onboarding call. They get an introduction as to who Teamed are, why we exist, why their employer in the UK or wherever they are in the world is engaging with us, and the idea behind the reason they're engaging with us is to make sure everything's done compliantly in the country that they live in, and explain the whole thing. So really kind of make them feel a part of Teamed as well as their employer in the
Hmm.
UK. So there's a full kind of onboarding process. Only after the onboarding process has taken place and we've reviewed their contracts of employment, their terms of employment, all those types of things, are they then issued their contract of employment, and then that's when that's signed. And then fundamentally, the administrative piece is done. The employment contract has been signed. We've set up their benefits. We've set them on local payroll, and that's that bit done. So technically, from there, and as far as I'm aware, as maybe you don't quote me on this, but I think we're the only EOR that actually do an individual onboarding with each and every employee.
Right, wow, amazing.
So that's a 30-minute, 45-minute call, which we do, which my colleagues do. And then after that, it's about trying to build that community that I was speaking about. So we have a strong presence. We have lots of employees that we employ on behalf of our clients in like places like Spain, in Portugal, in South Africa. There are some real hotspot areas. So a lot of them in Europe, South Africa, outside Europe, and a few others. We're seeing clusters of employees. So what we're trying to do is now create an ecosystem or a community rather of bringing all of these people together, some on like a quarterly basis or every 6 months, just so they get to connect with peers that are also in this kind of a full remote a job rather. So you've got two employees from client A and three employees from client B and one employee from client C, and so on. We bring those guys together, and because what we do is have our teamed individuals,
Hmm.
members of our company, located in these locations, in these geographies. So what they'll do is have like every 6 months they'll have like a drinks and a, I don't know, bowling night or whatever that looks like, and that's up to the individual in that country to manage. And they
Amazing.
have the budget, and they bring them together, and then they hang out and have beers and play bowling or whatever it is that they do. And then, of course, what we're trying to do is create online mini communities as well. So those that are based in Portugal, for example, have a way to not only connect with their employer in the UK, but 6, 8, 10. I think actually Portugal's a lot bigger now, but lots of employees in Portugal who are also kind of knocking around Lisbon somewhere. So
Mm.
we try and create that community, and we have community manager who nurtures that kind of that environment there. And again, they're there to support and just provide guidance on, the certain rules and regulations around, holidays or
Mm.
those types of things that are Portugal specific. And employees might have questions. So we're trying to create a community that allows each and every employee to kind of learn from one another, share their experiences,
Yeah.
grab a beer from time to time.
Really love that because I mean, the interesting thing is in the UK, as a startup, like what we do is send an offer letter and a contract and then hope they like it.
Mhm.
It's not we don't have the time to sit down and go through an onboarding call. And obviously, there's a
Mhm.
community here and we have calls every day and that kind of stuff. But actually, I think some people's reticence of EOR and remote is that they're going to get well, I think there's a few things, but like they're going to hire somebody in a different country who is not going to do any work. That's usually the first sort of draconian
Yeah.
thought. We can't have anybody work from home because they'll just sit there and do no work, which is just crazy. But there's that initial thought, and then secondly, it's like, well, are they really going to feel part of the business? Are they going to live and breathe our company culture? All of that stuff. I actually think as long as you choose the right EOR partner who
Mhm.
has who has an ability to give a culture across as well and support that culture as opposed to just like, here's your contract, I'm going to tick all the
Yeah.
boxes,
Yeah. Yeah.
for you to employ this person. It's going to make a
Mm.
huge difference. Like if they have a community of other people, which can also be a talent source. People
Mhm.
talk about how great their employer is and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
Like it makes a huge difference. And me as a candidate, from a candidate perspective, again, the last thing you want is really to be employed non-compliantly and then lose your job through no
Absolutely.
fault of your own, right? So having that level of service through the process is going to make a huge increase and spike in my confidence because you're not doing it half-assed, basically.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we find, like you say, it's that we're kind of going to bet heavy on that employee experience. We're going all in on trying to uh, go above and beyond. Here's your contract, here's your pay slip, here are your benefits. Above and beyond that, absolutely. And of course, we want to work with companies that care. So
Mm,
we're trying to find those kind of, small to medium-sized startups, Series A, who actually care, who also want to give that community that experience that, make them feel as they are absolutely 100% part of their team, right? And so they're also going above and beyond to making sure that the person sitting in Portugal, the certain person sitting in, India or wherever they are inclusive or they feel that they're
mm,
a part of the company. And that's why, our clients choose us and EORs generally because, if you can, there's nothing wrong with having a contractor overseas, although there might be some risks with kind of employee classification. But fundamentally, you could have them as a contractor,
mm,
but then they're just simply a contractor, and then they don't benefit from the benefits. They don't benefit from being part of the team. They can leave whenever they want, all those types of things. So
mm,
I think more and more companies are looking at EORs to say yes, this is a great way for us to very quickly bring people on board around the world, but have them feel like they're a part of us and
mm,
our company.
mm.
And we're just trying to do the same, just to make sure that they're not completely left alone physically, because obviously the physical thing, face to face matters.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so having a few beers in a bar in Lisbon somewhere is quite a nice touch.
Yeah.
And it's a little networking event. They hang out, they do their thing. One day I'm hoping to make it out to Lisbon and be a part of that
Yeah,
gang.
I was going to say, as
Yeah,
part of your job, do you have to go to
yeah,
every
I
country? Oh,
should.
I've got to get to at least one community meeting,
I
you
wish,
know.
I wish. Not just yet, not just yet. But I'm going to pitch that to the CEO. That I feel like I should be out there. To be fair, it should
Yeah.
be my colleagues that actually deal with employees. I don't really deal directly with employees,
Yeah,
but I
but
guess they should be out there.
whether it's fair or not, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah,
You got to push it, right?
indeed.
Because I think it'd be amazing. Okay, awesome. So I guess switching gears slightly, and hopefully this again is something that you can comment on. I think one of the greatest sort of I guess insights that we get as technology companies within recruitment is we get to see so many different companies and like what they're doing well, what they're doing badly. What, in terms of the recruitment process and dealing with candidates coming through, what are you seeing is working particularly well from some of your partners in terms of finding, talent, whether that be in a talent shortage or just having a great candidate experience? And then conversely, what have you seen from maybe some people that didn't become partners that wasn't working so well? And I guess,
Hmm.
yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of get your take on it.
So we're in the process of building our partner ecosystem. So in all honesty, we don't have a huge number of partners just yet, but we are building that. So we're speaking. Obviously, we look at the kind of employee or the candidate kind of journey, and fundamentally, we've got those that are in the sourcing. Those partners that are sourcing talent and sifting through
Yeah.
talent. A bit like you guys. There's a fit there, and of course, we've come across partners who are literally playing in the same space as us. So they are working with, the funded tech startups. I keep referring to funded tech startups. There are other industries, but those that are in that space seem to be great relationships because, not everything's fit, not everything's sorted. When you're working with a startup, there are processes to be established, and it's almost as if it's not plain sailing, and it never will be because people are trying to figure things out. And I think
Yeah.
those partners that are the same size as us, those partners that are working with the same sort of companies that we're working for, we almost make it work. You make things work as opposed to, or you try and make things work as best you can, as opposed to working with a partner that has an established process and they only want certain things to work a certain way, and then we have to kind of So I think that those partners that are playing the same kind of space as us make good partners for us. Speaking to the same people, understanding that the employee experience is that's the one thing that we need to kind of maintain as a constant. So if we're working with a recruitment agency, for example, we want them and they want us to make sure that the experience that this candidate has from sourcing to the interviewing process, which is nothing to do with us, that's with their employer, wherever the employer is, but then that handoff to us, which is we're going to be dealing the contracts, we're doing the onboarding and all those types of things. So that kind of consistent employee experiences are the partners that work. And then
Awesome.
the process underlying that we figure out as we go along, of how we hand things over and how it all works. But yeah, that's what we're looking for. Good partners
Yeah.
who care for their customers, who care for the employees.
I think because it's an interesting dynamic that because most of your introducers are recruiters, so the recruiter has introduced a candidate to an employer, and then the employer and the recruiter are both introducing teamed at the same time. There's like three facets as opposed to just the
Yeah,
one. If you're an internal recruiter going start to finish, and I guess you've got to spend quite a lot of time just making sure that like you say, it is a consistent candidate experience. And I think that is in the year to come where things are tougher for candidates, or they might be tougher for candidates. Actually, not neglecting that is going to be a huge thing. I think there's a lot of companies that could fall in the trap of being like, well, there's loads of candidates now. We can just treat
yeah,
them all like
yeah,
rubbish because we've
yeah,
got hundreds of CVs coming in.
yeah. And we
Just ignore that part.
absolutely want to avoid that at all costs. We are strong advocates of the employee, and so we want to make sure, my colleagues again are there reaching out to employees all the time. Almost, we actually take off some of the workload from the employer as well. So should the employer need assistance in just some basic stuff, but like drafting offer letters or doing those types of things, we'll do that as well. Just the other day, one of my colleagues is working on the logistics of laptops and so on and so forth. Now, fundamentally, we offer that support. It's not a kind of standard. Not every employer wants us to get involved with shipping laptops around the world and all the rest of it. But actually, in some cases, we get those kind of questions. Can you help us, obtain or collect a laptop in South Africa and actually ship it to a new employee that is starting with you in South Africa also? So we're doing kind of random things to make sure that the employee rather, when they start, they're fully equipped, they know what they're doing, that they've got their onboarding call with us done and out of the way in time for their new onboarding with their new employer,
Absolutely.
whoever that will be.
There's nothing worse than starting your first day and being like, what do I do now? I've got no laptop. I haven't even got a
Indeed,
login.
indeed.
So it's all important stuff. It's been really good to speak, Shamir. I guess the final thing for me is just asking if you've got, I guess, any hints or tips specifically around EOR. So if anybody's considering, hiring remotely using an EOR, is there anything that, you would say these are the kind of key things you need to consider before doing it?
Yeah. I'd probably say a couple of things. So first of all, look at the use case. Are you considering using an EOR because you're expanding internationally? If so, an EOR is a good place to start because we can make things happen very quickly, as opposed to you having to set yourself up. So understanding the reason behind your need for an EOR, and there's multiple use cases. If anybody wants to talk to me about that, by all means, feel free to reach out. The other thing is benefits and compensation. I think some companies, when they realize that they're employing internationally, they're like, okay, well, let's just give every developer, regardless of where they're based, the same salary and the same benefits. And actually, it doesn't really work like that, or it can work like that. But we're more about looking at it through a local lens. If we're looking at developers in Munich, for example, then let's look at kind of Munich or Germany, and let's look at, obviously benchmark salaries. Let's look at benefits that come as standard, and look at employer contributions, because of course employer contributions can change wildly from one country to the next. If you've got a 50K, excuse me, someone on 50K in France, that's going to cost you a hell of a lot more than someone that's on 50K, the equivalent, if you're doing apples to apples, in South Africa, where South Africa, the employer contributions are 5% on top of the salary, whereas in France, they're 45% on top of the salary.
Wow.
So you've got to look at it. Our advice, or our kind of thinking is, let's look at it from a country by country, or geography by geography kind of lens. That really, really helps, because, the costs can go wild. They're wildly different,
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, unless you're an international employment lawyer, you're never really going to know the employment law of any and every country. So, be mindful of the fact that if you are using an EOR, it's the EOR that's responsible for all of the compliance side of things. So when you're looking for guidance and support for terminating a contract, for example, or maternity or paternity, you can't use your own rules. Your rules don't apply in other countries. It's the local law. So being mindful of an EOR that knows exactly what they're doing from a
That's really
compliance
good.
standpoint. And it's that guidance, because you can't just, again, you might have a developer in Germany and someone else in South Africa, or the US or wherever, everything changes. So it's not a one size fits all. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that's such good advice. Like, well, and just a key thing of an EOR basically is, like, we're going to support your HR issues in a respect of, like,
Indeed.
terminating contracts, etc., where your internal team can't do it. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, cool, awesome. So, look, thanks so much. If people want to get in contact with you, Shamir, or with the team, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so you can just head on to our website, which is www.teamed, Teamed. Some people pronounce it Team Ed, but it's Teamed, teamed.global. So yeah,
Nice.
teamed.global. That's the best place to start.
Awesome. Okay, thanks so much for your time. Great to start the new
Thank
year with
you.
a partner like you guys, and let's see what happens. Maybe we'll do one at the end of the year, see whether our
Indeed.
predictions came true.
That's a great idea. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Shamir.
All right, buddy. Take care.